the 50 million number is seen as really good value by a number of the suitors, and the Premier League at the moment anyway is the most likely destination. I say at the moment because Real Madrid is the wild card in much of this story, and we can come on to that in a moment. But Liverpool and Chelsea in particular are very serious about the young Bournemouth centre-back who is versatile, he's mature, he's composed on the ball. And for Liverpool, it's sort of a two birds with one stone, because what you have to understand about Liverpool's strategy is they want players for the now and for the future. And ideally, they don't always do it, as we saw with the last midfield revamp. But in a perfect world, you sort of find the person who's going to become the heir to an older name who is leaving, and yet that name stays at Liverpool for 1-2 years. Hence, Salah extends, Van Dijk extends, Alisson is there, but Mamadashvili's coming in. And this is about Liverpool, to some extent, easing the transition and also understanding that the pathway, even for a player like Huijsen, may take a little bit of time to go from Bournemouth to Liverpool, despite the fact that he's played a lot of games and done outstanding in that defence. So Liverpool don't like to be in a position in an ideal world where a name coming in has to be thrown in at the deep end because there is just a gaping hole. So you can look at their interest in Huijsen as a sort of Van Dijk heir, because the player likes playing at left-sided centre-back, but is equally comfortable on the right-hand side. And because there's uncertainty over Ibrahima Konate, maybe there's even a possibility that Van Dijk and Huijsen end up pairing together. And that's the beauty of this sort of modern ball-playing centre-back who can have an impact at both boxes and can move around the defence a little bit. And this is why he's in demand. And my expectation is that even if it isn't the clause triggered, the number which informs the valuation from the clause of 50 million will be seen as very good value by many of the suitors in the race. And from Bournemouth's point of view, they're aware of the high volume of interest and they're looking to do a deal quickly as well. So you've got Liverpool and Chelsea particularly serious. Arsenal are there, but they're going to struggle to offer any kind of minutes, assuming that both Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba stay and remain fit. And Arsenal's intent is to try and get both of them to sign a new deal. You've also got Newcastle United and Tottenham Hotspur, who have looked at the player too. Each of those clubs have got various challenges, but Newcastle in particular, a little bit like Liverpool, are more inclined to say, we want to keep Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Sven Botman's going to come back from injury, but you still need that young future centre-back for the now and for the future. And I think this is where Newcastle are thinking Champions League football, maybe a little bit more money to spend. Perhaps they can enter the race as well. But I think Liverpool and Chelsea are going to be the ones to watch. And then Bayern have held some talks, but it's certainly not as advanced as the other Premier League clubs. And Real Madrid are not really there yet. And this is what I mean about the word wild card, because people are assuming, because the player himself has said Real Madrid would be a dream move, that if they enter the race, it's game over. And we'll have to wait and see whether that's true. But maybe they won't have time to enter the race because these Premier League clubs are trying to put pressure on and get a deal done now. And Real need to decide if they're going for another centre-back. At the moment, that's not guaranteed. So as long as that is the case, they're not as advanced or formally in the race as these other Premier League clubs like Liverpool. If that changes, then we might get a twist. But I think Liverpool and Chelsea in particular feel there's a deal there to be had with Bournemouth kind of now to either pre-agree for the summer or get done in the first few days of the window. And if they move that fast, maybe Real won't have crystallised their interest. And that's why the player will end up staying in the Premier League.